Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We will continue reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Celestial Dynasties, and we will start chapter 14, Pururava and Urvasi. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lankayate kirim yat kripatamam vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om. That's all. Shukadev paused in his narration. He had finished describing the two lines of the solar dynasty in which Ram and his consort Sita appeared. The sage now wanted to describe Krishna's dynasty. He told Parikshit, "You have heard about the sun god's dynasty. Now listen as I recount the most glorious and purifying description of the moon god's lineage, beginning with his heritage. At the beginning of creation, there was Garbhodakshai Vishnu. From his navel sprang a lotus on which Lord Brahma appeared. One of Brahma's highly qualified sons was sage Atri, from whose tears of jubilation the moon god Soma was born. His grandfather Brahma appointed him as a director of the Brahmins, drugs, and luminaries. Now hear about his progeny. After conquering the three planetary systems, Soma performed the Rajasuya sacrifice. The god's spiritual master Brihaspati presided sacrifice accompanied by his wife Tara. Soma was immediately attracted by her and kept glancing in her direction. Tara briefly returned his glance, but then out of shyness she looked down. At the end of the sacrifice, she returned with Brihaspati to his ashram. From that day, Soma took every opportunity to speak to Tara. When she would go to the river, he would also go there to water his horse. When she went to pick flowers or fruits for her husband's sacrifice, he would also go to the same spot on the pretext of hunting. At first, he spoke to her reverentially as one would to the Guru's wife. Gradually, he became bolder. Joking and flattering her, she would laugh and glance at him coyly, making Soma's heart leap. On one occasion by the riverside, Soma frankly declared his attraction to her. "I would do anything for you, just be mine. Why do you say, stay with Brihaspati? Your beauty is wasted on him." Her eyes filled with tears and she looked away. Soma implored her, "I know you feel the same way about me. Leave Brihaspati, become mine. I shall serve and protect you." He took her hand, but she pulled it back. "No, I cannot. My attraction for you is sinful. I must return to my husband." She got up to leave. Soma's heart pounded as he watched the shapely Tara hurriedly return to Brihaspati's hermitage. She liked him, no doubt. It was fear of Brihaspati that made her reticent. What though could be the old sage do to him? He was Chandra, lord of the moon, just as powerful, if not more. So then Brihaspati, Soma mounted his stallion and chased after Tara, sweeping her off her feet and onto his celestial steed. Quickly he flew back towards his city. Tara protested, "Soma, please release me. Brihaspati will not tolerate this and his anger will destroy us both." Soma laughed and told her not to worry. "You will be safe with me, O goddess. Come and enjoy heavenly delights in my palace. You are not meant for living in a simple hermitage." A few boys playing in the river saw the incident and ran to tell Brihaspati. Remembering the duty of Brahmins to forgive, Brihaspati went to Soma's place and spoke gently to him. "My dear son, overcome by pride, you rashly stole my wife. I forgive you, but you must now return her to me." Soma said, "She is in her season now and is staying in seclusion. However, when she is ready, I will return her." After a week, Tara had not returned to her husband, so Brihaspati again went to Soma. "Please return my wife, and we will forget this entire affair." "She has fever and must rest," said Soma. "When she is recovered, I will bring her back." In this fashion, Soma repeatedly evaded Brihaspati's request to return Tara. Brihaspati confided in his son Angira, who told his disciple Shiva. Out of affection for his spiritual master, Shiva, followed by all the ghosts and hobgoblins, complained to Indra. In the meantime, Brihaspati's arch rival Shukra had heard of the kidnapping and gloated over Brihaspati's plight. When he heard that Shiva was galvanizing the other gods to retrieve their guru's wife, he immediately went to his disciples, the demons, and insisted they go to Soma's aid. Soon a great battle ensued over Tara between the gods led by Indra, who supported Brihaspati, and the demons supporting Soma. Seeing this calamity, Soma's uncle sage Angira went to Brahma and begged him to intervene. Brahma at once descended. When the two sides saw Brahma's swan carrier hovering over the battlefield, they lowered their weapons. Brahma summoned Soma to come before him, dressed in his armor and bloodied from the fight. Soma knelt before Brahma. Brahma spoke sternly, "You have acted most heinously by kidnapping your spiritual master's wife." Soma tried to protest, "My lord, she prefers me." Brahma would hear no excuses, immediately return her. Soma returned to his palace accompanied by Brahma, Brihaspati, the gods, and the sages. He summoned Tara from the ladies' quarters and told her she must return to her husband. As Tara fearfully approached Brihaspati, she was mortified to see her protruding belly. "You foolish woman," he cried, "your womb meant for me to impregnate has been impregnated by another." Tara trembled in fear. What if her husband burnt her to ashes once she delivered the child? Noting her extreme apprehension, Brihaspati became compassionate. He had lived with Tara for many years, yet she had stayed childless. He knew this had been a great source of sorrow for her. He took a deep breath to calm himself before speaking. "Immediately deliver your child, immediately deliver it. I shall not burn you to ashes after the child is born. I know that although you are unchaste, you wanted a son, therefore I shall not punish you." Greatly ashamed, Tara knelt before her husband and begged forgiveness. Then, by the strength of Brihaspati's mystic power, her labor contractions began. Soma called for maid servants to take Tara back to the ladies' quarters and deliver her child. Soon a jubilant maid servant came with the news of the birth. "A beautiful boy has been born." Brahma, the gods, and the sages accompanied Brihaspati and Soma to the room where attired Tara sat with an effulgent golden baby on her lap. In the way of the gods, the baby was rapidly developing. Both Brihaspati and Soma claimed the boy as their own. A quarrel broke out between them. Each shouted at the other, "This is my child, not yours." The sages and gods intervened to keep the two apart. Then they turned to Tara and asked her to settle the question of paternity. Her face reddened and she hung her head, unable to reply. The child looked at the quarreling men and then up at his mother. As he understood the situation, he spoke angrily to his mother. "You unchaste woman, what is the use of your unnecessary shame? Why you do not admit your fault? Speak." Hearing her son's harsh reproach, Tara could no longer hide her distress. Her shoulders heaved and she cried pitifully. Feeling compassion, Brahma came forward and took her son from her lap, giving him to the care of a female attendant. Then gently he took Tara's arm and helped her stand up. "Come with me, Tara," he said gently. Brahma led her to a solitary place and spoke kindly. "Be peaceful, Tara. I know this was not your fault. Only proud Soma is to be blamed. Brihaspati loves you, and once you have returned to his house, he will treat you with his customary kindness." Gradually, with his constant reassurance, Tara calmed down and dried her eyes. "Now, Tara," said Brahma, "tell me truthfully and without fear, who fathered this boy?" Tara averted her eyes and said, "This is the son of Soma, the moon god." Brahma returned with Tara to the room where the others anxiously waited. He took the child, who was now standing and able to walk, by the hand and led him to Soma. "Take your son and raise him well," he said. As the boy made obeisance to his father, Brahma said, "This boy is extremely intelligent. Therefore, his name should be Buddha." Soma was overjoyed. He lifted his son and embraced him tightly. Shukadev then spoke of Buddha's son Pururava. He said, "I am sure you remember my telling you a story of the history of Vaivasvat Manu's first child." Parikshit cast his mind back to the incident surrounding the birth of that child. Manu had asked his priest to perform a sacrifice to give him a son, but his wife asked the priest for a girl, and Ila was born. On Manu's behest, Vashish turned Ila into a boy, Sudyumna. Later, by the influence of Shiva's curse, Sudyumna became Ila. Vashisht petitioned Ila to return Ila's manhood. By Shiva's sanction, he lived for 1 month as a woman and the next as a man. Yes, Lord, I remember, replied Parikshit. When Sudyumna was transferred into a woman, she married Buddha. Shukadev smiled broadly. Very good, that Buddha was the same boy born to Soma and Tara. Buddha and Ila's son was named Pururava. Who became the lunar dynasty's first human king. Pururava's beauty, personal qualities, magnanimity, behavior, wealth and power were unequaled. The celestial beauty Urvashi became infatuated with Pururava. Just by hearing Narad describe him, she immediately left the heavens and came to earth to seek him out. Master, how did a celestial become attracted to a human? Asked Parikshit. Shukadev explained that Mitra and Varun had previously cursed Urvashi to live as a human. On the strength of this curse, she became attracted to Pururava. Listen as I tell you about their relationship. Pururava sat in the lotus position under a flowering Ashoka tree, his back straight and his eyes half closed. Every morning at dawn, he would spend time in the palace gardens, practicing pranayam and meditation. A gem-encrusted golden necklace adorned his broad chest, and around his well-muscled arms were jeweled golden armlets. Locks of curly blackish hair framed his handsome face, decorated with pearl-studded earrings. His head and shoulders were sprinkled with bright red petals of trees blossoms which enhanced his attractiveness. Urvashi stood gazing at him and felt her heart quicken with excited passion. This was a man worth winning. She strolled towards him, her hips swinging seductively, her shapely form silhouetted under her flowing satin dress. 2 lambs frolicked at her feet. Hearing the tinkling of ankle bells and the bleating of lambs, Pururava fully opened his eyes and saw a goddess of exquisite beauty approaching him. Her dark silken hair flowing around her milk-white face, Pururava became enlivened by ecstasy, and the down of his body stood erect. Standing shyly before him, Urvashi gave him a coquettish smile. Pururava spoke to her in mellifluous tones. Most beautiful maiden, you are welcome. Please sit here and tell me, what can I do for you? Urvashi scratched at the earth with her toe. Impelled by attraction for you, I am here. Pururava's heart leapt. O comely lady, you may enjoy with me as long as you desire. I would happily spend my life in a conjugal relationship with you. Urvashi's bosom rose and fell. Glancing at Pururava, she said, O handsome one, who is the woman whose mind and eyes would not be attracted by you? Once a woman takes shelter in your arms, she cannot refuse you. Pururava was elated. His limbs trembled. He had never imagined such beauty could exist. It was his supreme fortune that this exquisite goddess was offering herself to him. Removing his garland, he went to place it around her neck, signifying his acceptance of her as his bride according to the Gandharv rite. But she caught his hand. She caught his hands and said, My dear King Pururava, although I belong to the heavenly planets and you to earth, I will happily unite with you if you promise to protect these 2 lambs who have fallen from heaven with me. I will accept you as a man if you desire, for you are superior in every respect. Her beauty had so taken Pururava that he had not even noticed the lambs that nuzzled at her feet until now. I shall certainly protect them. Have no fear on that account. What else do you desire, my lady? O sweets of sweet smiles. Urvashi replied, My dear hero, only food cooked in ghee will be my edibles. So first she's asked Pururava to look after the lamb which have which fell from the heaven with her. And now she's telling what are her other requests. She would only cook food cooked in ghee, that will be her edibles, and I shall not want to see you naked at any time except when we lie together. So be it, said Pururava. He placed his garland around her svelte neck and chanted Om to sanctify their union. He then took her hand, kissing at it, most beautiful one, your loveliness and gestures are wonderful. Indeed, you are attractive to all human society. Since you have come of your own accord from the heavens, who on earth would not agree to serve a goddess like you? Pururava drew her close to his chest and embraced her. For many months, the two lovers freely engaged in amorous activities in many celestial regions, such as Chaitrarath and Nandanakanan, where the gods enjoy. Urvashi's body was as fragrant as the saffron of a lotus, enlivened by her scent and her beauty. Pururava enjoyed her company in great euphoria. Meanwhile, in Amravati, King Indra felt increasingly dissatisfied. Dismissing the Apsaras who danced for him, he complained that his assembly was no longer beautiful without Urvashi. Turning to the Gandharvas, he said, "Go, bring her back to the heavens." The Gandharvas arrived at Pururava's house at midnight and stole Urvashi's lamb. She heard them bleating in fear and shook her sleeping husband. "Wake up, if anything happens to my babies, I shall die. Though you have promised as your protection, you lie here like a eunuch while they are in peril." Drowsy from an evening of erotic activity, Pururava pulled himself up in his elbows. Urvashi's panic for the safety of her lambs increased, and she harshly rebuked her husband for not acting swiftly. "Because I depended on you, plunderers are depriving me of my 2 lambs. What a terrible state I have been reduced to. My husband lies down at night in fear like a woman, although he appears to be a man during the day." Urvashi's sharp accusations struck Pururava like an elephant driver's goad. He leapt from his bed and, seizing a sword, bounded out in the night without dressing, following the sound of bleating lambs. He gave chase to the Gandharvas, who released the lambs and flew into the sky, picking them up. Pururava walked barefoot and naked back to his residence when the Gandharvas shone brightly like lightning, fully illuminating Pururava's house. When Urvashi saw her husband returning naked with the lambs, she immediately vanished. No longer seeing Urvashi on his bed, Pururava became most aggrieved. Pulling on his clothes, he ran outside, calling her name, "Urvashi, Urvashi." Like a madman, he traveled everywhere in the search of his wife. For many months, he searched through the different forests, banks of holy rivers, and even mountainous region, until he spotted her with 5 other beautiful Apsaras resting on the bank of the Saraswati river at Kurukshetra. "Urvashi, Urvashi, your most beautiful ones, stay just a moment," he called, running towards them. All her companions immediately disappeared, but Urvashi waited for him. Her demeanor was somehow aloof. So Pururava resisted the urge to embrace her. He pleaded with her, "Oh beloved, I know that until now I have never made you happy, but you should also not give me up. For that reason, this is not proper." Urvashi turned away, and Pururava became anxious that she should again vanish. "Beloved, please do not be so cruel. Even if you have decided to give up my company, let us talk for some time." Urvashi again faced him and indifferently replied, "What is there to discuss, dear king? You broke our agreement, and I have left you. There is nothing left to say between us." Pururava fell on his knees and tried to take her hand, which she withdrew. He spoke tearfully, "O goddess, now that you have refused me, my beautiful body will fall here, and because it is unsuitable for your pleasure, it will be eaten by foxes and vultures." Urvashi looked down compassionately at Pururava, but knew that the Indra would not allow her to remain with him. There was no point in giving him a false hope. It would be less painful for him if he gave up his attachment for her. Urvashi spoke firmly. My dear king, you are man, a hero. Don't forget. Don't forget to. My dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober and do not allow the fox-like senses to overcome you. Control them. You should know that a woman's heart is like a fox's. There is no use of making friends with women. Pururava wiped his tears and tried again to take her hand, but Urvashi pulled away. There was no point in prolonging his attachment and agony. Their relationship could not continue. Better if it became bitter towards her. That would lessen his heartache. Urvashi continued in an even sterner tone, why do you remain so attached to women? King, do you know nothing? Do you know that women as a class are merciless and cunning? We cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For our pleasure, we can do anything religious. We do not even fear killing a faithful husband or brother. Men easily seduce us. A corrupted woman will give up the friendship of a good man who is her well-wisher and associate. A corrupted woman will give up the friendship of a good man who is her well-wisher and associate instead of with fools. Indeed, we seek newer and newer consorts one after another. Pururava's eyes opened wide in horror. No, Urvashi, he begged, you cannot fool me. I know you love me as much as I love you. You are just saying these things to turn my heart away from you. Why? Who is the one behind this sudden change? Pururava crisped her shoulders and legs. How could she tell him that Indra and Gandharvas would no longer allow her to live with him? It would only create enmity between him and the celestials. Yet how could you remain indifferent towards them? He was heartbroken. Becoming flustered, Urvashi finally relented and spoke soothing to Pururava, my dear king, I will come to you one night at the end of a year. I will come to you one night at the end of each year. At those times we will enjoy one another's company again and again. She paused and looked up with a teasing smile. In this way, you will have other children one after the other. Pururava looked at her quizzically. Other children, what did she mean? It suddenly dawned on him that she must be pregnant with his child, and he joyfully embraced her. Slowly she pulled away, bade him farewell, and then disappeared before his eyes. At the end of the year, she came to him with a son. He enjoyed with her at that night in a great happiness, but in the morning as she dressed, she again wept and pleaded with her to stay with him. Urvashi did not relent. She knew Indra would become angry. Out of affection for Pururava, she never came back to because she did not want to create trouble for him. Still, his pleas touched her heart. Finally, she thought of a solution. Sitting at the end of his bed, she took his hand and spoke gently to him. My dear king, it is not in my power to stay with you. Better you pray to the Gandharvas for only one thing, the way they can deliver me to you again. She kissed his forehead and left. From that moment, Pururava spent his days and nights in meditation and prayers. Better you pray to the Gandharvas, for only they can deliver me to you. Again she kissed his forehead and left. From that moment, Pururava spent his days and nights in meditation and prayer to Gandharvas, pleading with them to return Urvashi. Finally, after some months, the Gandharvas took pity on him and gave him a woman who looked and spoke exactly like Urvashi. Not realizing, Pururava became enjoyed when they went for a long walk in the forest. My beloved, I feel my life has changed, turned around me. Now that we have Gandharvas took pity on him and gave him a woman who spoke exactly like Urvashi. Not realizing, Pururava became overjoyed. Together they went for a long walk in the forest. My beloved, I feel my life has returned to me now that we can live again together, Pururava said, squeezing her hand. That girl smiled, but said, I know you have lost faith in me, but I assure you I will never break your conditions again, continued Pururava. Conditions? Asked the girl. Pururava looked at her closely. Had she forgotten? Then he noticed that her lambs were not with her. My dear, where are the 2 lambs? The girl smiled and pulled Pururava towards her. They lay together in the grassy forest, but later as the girl slept, Pururava became pensive. This girl was certainly not Urvashi. Her bodily fragrance, her They lay together on the grassy forest floor, but later as the girl slept, Pururava became pensive. This woman was certainly not Urvashi. His bodily fragrance and her mannerisms and her embraces were all very different. Pururava rose silently and returned to his palace. He sat up the rest of the night thinking of Urvashi. During the day, the age changed from Satyug to Treta Yuga. From within his heart, he was inspired to perform a fire sacrifice. To regain his beloved. The next day, Pururava returned to the same spot where he had left Urvashi's lookalike, where he had not seen Ashwatha mirror going out of a shami tree. He took pieces of wood from his he took pieces of wood from that tree and made 2 aranis. That is the firewood for the sacrifice. Desiring to go to the same planet as Urvashi, he chanted Vedic mantras while meditating on the lower arani as Urvashi, the upper one himself, and the middle as a sun. In this way, he ignited a fire. Parikshit looked confused. What do you mean he meditated on the middle one as this sun? Shukadev said he meditated on the fire produced by rubbing the 2 aranis as being their sun. This is because fire invoked during sacrifice was while chanting Om can, like a sun, help one achieve all success in material enjoyment and a purified birth in one's next life. With that fire, Pururava worshipped Narayan to attain the same planet where Urvashi resided. Did he not chant the mantras besides Om? Asked Parikshit. Also, why did he worship Lord Narayan for such a boon? Do people desiring heaven not normally worship the gods? I am also confused why he did not perform his sacrifice earlier. Shukadev said, in Satyayug, the first of the 4 ages, there was only one Veda, the Atharva, and one mantra, Om, the root of all Vedic mantras. Furthermore, in that age, only Narayan was worshipped. There was no provision for worshipping the gods. Fire was the only means of performing sacrifice. There was only one Varna, Hamsa, since everyone was predominantly in the mode of goodness and engaged in meditation. It was not until the beginning of Treta Yuga that Pururava inaugurated Karmakand sacrifice, and with the help of his son, the sacrificial fire attained his desired destination, Gandharvlok. So, with this, we come to the end of this chapter, Pururava and Urvashi. Thanks for joining. Hariam Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.